Daniel Kraft, where are you? Daniel Kraft is the head of all the medical stuff at Singularity University, and he's got a great talk about exponential medicine. So, Daniel, too, take it away.
Thank you, David. So we live in a pretty extraordinary time for health and medicine, particularly the opportunity to globalize healthcare around the planet. And as the theme is here, techonomy, it's how do we take these technologies and converge them to address a lot of the grand challenges we have across healthcare. And of course, many technologies are riding, Moore's law, the power of computing getting faster and cheaper. This is my iPhone 2 from 10 years ago. It felt amazing 10 years ago. Now it feels slow and clunky and has a low-resolution camera. And it's these exponentials which have shifted, what we can do and what we can put in our pocket. But it's also transforming many elements of health and medicine as we get mobile and connected and data-driven. And it's these exponentials which often can be a bit surprising about their speed and pace and their potential to impact many fields, particularly the realm of medicine. And when we think about Moore's law in medicine, I think we should think about this convergence of other fields from AI and robotics and synthetic biology and low-cost genomics that are all coming together faster, cheaper, and better and giving us the opportunity to address some of the grand challenges that we have across the healthcare continuum, from hopefully optimizing health, wellness, prevention, keeping us healthy before we get sick, early diagnostics, picking up disease at stage 0 rather than advanced stage, more personalized, precise therapy that's easier to take and less toxic, how we can democratize and digitize healthcare around the planet, and finally, how can we all play a role in discovery, participate, and crowdsource the future of medicine? And all those can ride exponential rails as we address challenges in healthcare, which include rising costs, aging populations, access to care. Many parts of the U.S. and the rest of the world have a shortage of doctors and nurses and specialists, so no matter what happens to Obamacare or Trump care, which is really no care, or Putin care, we need to think of new ways to bring healthcare to new folks. We have lots of exponential data coming at us, but how do we make that useful information at the site of point of care for the clinician or the patient? How do we unfragment it? How do we help our regulators and our payers get on top of these exponential rails? So lots of challenges, including the fact that even where countries have healthcare, 5 million die because of poor quality healthcare in low and middle income countries, more than the 3.5 million who die from not having access to care. So lots of challenges and lots of opportunities. Part of that is shifting our mindset. We're still stuck across the globe really in a sick care model. And what do I mean by sick care? We have very intermittent data that we can collect from ourselves, our patients, an occasional blood pressure check, EKG. If you have diabetes or hypertension, maybe you're faxing or PDFing the data to your doctor, whether they want to see it or not. So with intermittent and episodic data, we have a sick care system. We're reactive. We wait for the patient to show up with a heart attack or a stroke, or in my field of oncology, to present with late-stage disease as opposed to early. And I think the meta potential of all these new technologies is to move us to much more continuous and proactive and personalized health and medicine in the developed and the developing world. Now, part of the challenge is getting us out of our old buckets and mindsets, whether it's how we define medical specialties by anatomy, or how we unsilo all the siloed data, which is often stuck between EMRs and healthcare systems and pharma companies, and to connect the dots and take that data and turn it into knowledge, which is often doubling every 73 days. Hard to keep up with. So as we look at these massive new sets of data and hopefully new knowledge, how do we translate the clinical utility for each of us as individuals, as patients, as caregivers, and as healthcare systems? Well, I get an interesting seat at the table. I've been the chair of medicine since we started Singularity University 10 years ago. And there we have an interesting lens to look at this cross-convergence and bring new people and players together. 7 years ago, I started a program called Exponential Medicine, and we just had our 8th program last week at the Hotel del Coronado with the help of Will Weissman and several faculty who are here today. And it's a pretty incredible thing when you bring folks from all around the world, patients, nurses, providers, payers, investors, to look at what's here today and where are things heading, and to touch and taste the future today to catalyze into the future. And so with that mindset, we like to look at challenge areas and think about new ways to address them. And one area that I've always looked at is how do we improve how we take our medicines? First of all, we should optimize prevention so we never need it. But those who do take medications, it's often hard to take them. We have 4.5 billion drugs prescriptions every year in the United States. This year alone, that's 15 for every man, woman, and child. And for most of us, our experience with taking our medicines is, too many pills, hard to read instructions, one-size-fits-all dosing that we're not even usually taking as indicated. And so that leads to several major challenges. Even when we do take our medicines, they often don't work. For the top 10 grossing medications prescribed in the United States this year alone, they're only effective for about 1 in 5 to 1 in 24 of those of us that take them. So it's great if you're number one, but what about everybody else? And on top of that, even if your medication's working, there's often side effects. Or even when it doesn't work. Aspirin is only effective in about 2/3 of individuals, but everybody who takes it has the risk of GI bleeds and other elements that kill thousands every year. And it's adverse drug reactions like these that, by some indications, are the number 4 leading cause of death around the world. Part of these adverse drug reactions is based on challenges with dosing. So I trained at Stanford, then went to Mass General to train in internal medicine and pediatrics. So spent a lot of time with little people in pediatrics, where in the NICU, for example, in the neonatal intensive care unit, we'd be dosing to a fraction of a milligram for every kilogram of weight. And the next night, I might have been doing a shift in the adult emergency room and taking care of a frail nursing home patient, or maybe the next 10 minutes, a 200, 300-pound football lineman. By most cases, we'd be dosing the elderly patient and the large football player with the same doses, sort of one-size-fits-all dosing. And I think we can do better in our now connected digital age to improve dosing and selecting the right drugs for the individual based on age, sex, and racial elements. Another major challenge is folks don't take their medicines as indicated, particularly because we're in an era often of polypharmacy. About 40% of Americans over 65 are taking 5 or more pills, often many 15 or more pills. It's hard to keep track of them. Often you have to cut them in half to get the dosing appropriate. And it's this low adherence or low compliance rate that is extremely expensive. If we even improved adherence on statins by 10, 20%, we'd save millions and billions of dollars and save thousands and thousands of lives. So lots of room for improvement. And we think we're in this, amazing connected AI-driven Internet of Things age, but we're really not in an era of precision medicine yet, but an era of imprecision medicine. So that got me thinking, what if there might be a better way? How do we take these technologies to go beyond the pill cutter and the fax machine to get better adherence and more precision and personalization for healthcare and therapy around the planet? Well, part of this starts with a lot of the new amazing exponential technologies that we have, on our wrists. We're only 9 years into the Fitbit world, and we're in like 5 different versions of trackable devices today. That means we're often in the world of quantified self, where you can own your own data. It's on your smartphone. But now we're starting to shift to quantified health, when that information can flow to your healthcare provider, into your healthcare system, and be used in smart ways to optimize and measure and optimize your wellness, but also do early diagnosis and then to manage therapy. So let's take a common example of a disease, hypertension, high blood pressure. It's the number 1 leading cause of early death and morbidity around the planet. About half of U.S. Americans, adults, have hypertension. Less than half have it well controlled. And well, part of the challenge is, you have to taking 2 or 3 different medications. You get spot checks. But now you can buy a connected blood pressure cuff. Some are being shrunk into your watch. Some are going to dissolve into seamless radar-based ones that can stream your blood pressure continuously. Several startups working on this. So if I had hypertension, I could be streaming my live data, and my doctor or my cardiologist or an algorithm could use that data to optimize my medications and optimize my flow. Now, other elements include, our mobile watches today, our smartwatches. Our Apple Watch, even before Apple could do it, can measure an EKG. The company that makes this device is doing over 1 million EKGs a month and crowdsourcing that data. We can collect information on EKG patches that are basically an intensive care unit on a patch that can transmit, my vital signs anywhere, and soon my patients or your data anywhere, not just in real time, but retrospectively, so you can manage patients in an asynchronous and virtualized manner. And there's many other examples of what we can do today, from shockables that can change your behavior, hearables that play music but also track your steps and heart rate, ringables that can track your sleep, something so important to health and medicine. So lots of new exponential shrinking, all the way to the point where we can not just check our weight, but our shape. And in this case, scan me and determine not much my kilograms, but my muscle content and fat mass, and use that to hopefully optimize a diet or a therapy. And for those of us who don't want to wear anything, MIT engineers have modified Wi-Fi to pick up the vital signs of up to 10 people in the same room at the same time. So we have tremendous new ways to collect this data, this digital exhaust, sometimes called the digitome, and we can even go beyond that, picking up our labs, a lab on a chip, can be done in a rural village, on our smartphone, the results delivered by the internet or by drone. And we're in an era of low-cost genomics. We're at $1,000, soon to be $100 genome, where I can now obtain my pharmacogenomics. How do my genes impact what drug dose I might want? From a blood pressure med to a statin, do I need normal dose, high dose, low dose, or a different medication altogether? Or to use and crowdsource our genomic information to understand that diabetes is at least 3 distinct subtypes. or do fun things like share my genome and print socks that are literally made based on my genome. That can be engaging, right? Fun. But it enables us all to start to donate our data. You've heard of the Framingham trial. Now there's a Framingham trial on steroids, the All of Us trial being initiated by the NIH this year. You can all donate your genomics and other information. So now hopefully we can start to crowdsource, be smarter, and use AI, or I like to call it IA, intelligence augmentation, to pick the right prevention or therapy drugs that might be best for you. But still, our cutting-edge way of tracking our medication still looks like this, right? We still have some smarter ways, connected pill bottles, some will squawk at you apps, some smart packaging like PillPack that was just bought by Amazon for $1 billion. But we're still taking a pile of pills. So this got me thinking, what if we could make better use of the polypill? Polypills, you know, common cold and flu medications, lots of medications combined, are medications which combine several medications. And these have been done in a global health studies to look at prevention. Folks with high risk of heart disease or stroke who had not yet had an event took polypills with half-dose ACE inhibitors, statins, aspirin, other blood pressure meds, and dramatically reduced their risk for heart attack or stroke. So I thought, what if we could personalize these to the very individual for prevention or therapy? What if you could essentially print your own personalized polypill that would be built for you, based on you, and can adapt to you even day to day based on your digital exhaust and other data? So we've got personalization, right? You can 3D print everything from your braces to orthopedic devices to hearing aids, or yourself. What if you could then print essentially your own personalized polypill? I call these IntelliMeds. This idea that instead of taking a pile of 6 generic pills, you could combine these into a single medication. And this is sort of how it works. Instead of, again, multiple tablets, we have what we call micromeds, each 1 or 2 milligrams that you could sort out of cartridges, like ink, but made out of generic drugs, that could sort and match the doses that you need. And of course, we start with generic drugs. You could potentially influence the life, long or short acting, based on coatings on each micromed. And then you could have a printer in your corner pharmacy or rural village that would print your medications based on you and what you needed. And again, these would also already be meds that you are allowed to take together, that have been well proven. And start with generics, which are 80% of the medications done today. So once you print your IntelliMed, you could do some fun elements like print your name on it, a QR code. Essentially, here's our prototype printer, which we just finished. The software enables you to dial in 16 different drugs. The printer essentially works like this. There are silos with different IntelliMeds. You adjust the dose with a robotic arm, and as you adjust the dose and release them, they fall down the silo and essentially print your personalized IntelliMed right there at the point of care, or eventually in your bathroom counter. So that's the big picture idea. The idea here is that you could print a pill potentially every morning, and based on your digital exhaust, you needed more blood thinner, less Lasix, different doses, you'd be able to improve your adherence and ease of taking medications. Now, all this could potentially have global impact, again, for prevention and adherence. As more and more folks are connected to the internet, we can provide data as information. Community health workers can use a whole new set of digital tools to collect information on their patients. Digital doctors or community health workers' bag. All these things are becoming digitized and democratized for doing diagnostics and for doing therapy through virtualized care, through telehealth, the virtualized visit with an individual clinician, but increasingly driven by AI and chatbots. Again, democratizing access across the planet. And now chatbots and platforms like Good Doctor in China, over 200 million individuals had almost no access to care, now have that opportunity. So as we pull all these new forms together, I think we can all start to accelerate discovery. You can download clinical trials. Of course, we've now changed our driving habits in the last 12 years. We used to use paper maps 12 years ago. Now we couldn't imagine driving out without our Google Maps and our Waze. What if we had a Waze for healthcare, where we were crowdsourcing our health journeys? It was intelligent. It would guide us to our health destination. It could course correct in real time. It would be gamified, and our information could be shared globally. We'd give information, and we'd get information back. So I think part of this future of healthcare is thinking of ourselves not just as organ donors and blood donors, but as data donors as we accelerate our learning. So with this mindset, whether it's taking a medicine, prevention, global health, I hope we can shift from our episodic, reactive, imprecise, siloed world of sick care and move to one of continuous, proactive, personalized, and participatory healthcare that globalizes around the planet. Thanks very much.